Hey there, welcome to My Green Pets. I'm William Green. I wanted to show you the Cattleyas that I've got in bloom right now. June, what is this? June the 9th, 2021. So we got two Kellya Rexes and one Kellya Maxima. Cerulean. So let's have a look. First one on the right here, this is Kellya Rex. I give it the name Unu, which means water in Quechua, which is the language spoken by the indigenous people in the Andes where these flowers are from. And this, believe it or not, is a first bloom seedling. Unu grows with his sister Nina. These are two plants on the same mount. This was mounted on a piece of hickory bark 8 years ago. And this one is finally blooming. You can see they're growing very well. The sister Nina has a sheath too, but don't know if that's going to bloom this year. But flowers on Unu are very nice and colorful. Not particularly symmetrical, but not terrible. I am going to take these to judging this coming Saturday, although after my last judging experience, when I learned that a dorsal sepal that is not straight up and down, that leans back as this one does, is not likely to be awarded. And I even thought about, well, can you cheat? Can you kind of force it forward? I don't think you can. They really kind of have grown backwards, and I think I would snap them if I tried to cheat. Not that I would, of course. So that's Unu. Next door we have sister of Unu. This is Mayu. Mayu means river in Quechua. And Mayu has really nice flowers as well. We can get her there with her sister. Pretty. Again, the first few days when these flowers open up, that dorsal sepal is straight up and down. But as time passes, as the days pass, it starts to lean back further and further and further. And I wouldn't be surprised if it keeps going even past that. So I am under the impression that means the flowers are not awardable, but I am going to take them anyway, just for fun. Who knows? So this is Mayu. Mayu bloomed last year, and Mayu even held a seed pod. Someone asked in the last video, the seed pod from Mayu, actually, I took it off, and it's actually right here in this bag. It's all dried up now, but I got a ton of seed. I opened up this seed pod. It started to split open, and so I just kind of gave it a little pull and pulled it the rest of the way open, and a bunch of seed poured out. So I'm hoping that it's viable. I've already sent it to the laboratory. They've already received it. Hopefully in the next few weeks I'll get a report back from them on whether or not the seed is viable. If it is, of course, it will be sown and flasked. And then our third Cattleya here today is Kellya maxima, Cattleya, or Cerulean. Beautiful, beautiful color. Just this lavender, steel, blue, gray. Don't know what to call it, but it is certainly very nice. And this was a surprise spike. I didn't even see this spike until the buds were already starting to push out. But it has a nice leaf flower sheath here, and then another one back here. And they do seem to have buds just starting in the very, very bottom there. Some black shadows down there. So hoping to get a really nice display. This plant can put 10 flowers on the spike. As can these, actually. Cattleya Rex, I have seen plants with 10 flowers on one spike. So the fact that this one put out 4 on its first bloom is not a surprise. This is a very floriferous species, as is the Cattleya maxima. So that's great. Let's have a look in the tent and see what else is going on in there. All right, welcome, welcome. We are in the tent. Looks like we got a little bit more room now that those 3 plants have been taken out. There are a couple more Cattleya rexes that look like they're going to be blooming soon. This one is given the clonal name Inti, means sun in Quechua, sun like the sun and the moon. And those buds are growing pretty large. That'll be blooming the next few weeks. And then that sister plant is Kellya. Kellya means moon in Spanish, or not in Spanish, sorry, in Quechua. It looks like Killa in English, so I'm afraid people are going to look at that and they're going to be like, ooh, Killa. But it's not Killa like somebody who kills some, it's Kellya. It means moon. Okay, so this one, I just spotted some tiny, tiny buds in the bottom of the sheath. So we've still got 2 more plants at least that are going to bloom. That's really exciting. In terms of the seedlings, things seem to be going really well. They've really started to put out roots. Can't see them so well here, but look here. See those green, fat little roots? And there's a lot of them pushing out. So you can see them sneaking in there. Just really looking great. Those are real new, true aerial roots that are pushing out of these seedlings. That's so exciting. I am spraying these guys daily with water. Try to do it in the morning so that their foliage is dry by night. Temperatures in the tent are really, really good right now. The high temperatures are approaching 28 degrees C. Humidity is a little bit low right now because I do have the flap open. And then at night, air conditioning kicks in and it gets down to about 17, 18. No, it gets a bit warmer than that. 18 or 19 degrees C. So that's great. We get a full almost 10 degrees C temperature change between day and night. And that's really, really that's exactly where I'd love to keep it all year long. Fortunately, it's not always the case. It's going to happen that way. RLC Jesse Lee. These are the back bulbs. I took 2 divisions and sold them off, but I kept these back bulbs and they are rooting. The new growth looks beautiful. The new roots are doing great as well, going down into the pot. And I'm really excited that Jesse Lee will produce this growth, hopefully another growth later this summer, and then at least 1 flower in the fall. That would be fantastic. Another plant that was stressing me out a little bit. This is another Cattleya rex. You can see the leaves are yellowish. They're wrinkly. The bulbs are extremely wrinkled. It put everything it had into this new growth, which actually has a sheath, but I really doubt that it's going to be able to bloom. But finally, we have reached the most important time in any Cattleya rex's growth phase, and that is the rooting phase. So this new growth is going to be putting out new roots, and hopefully this plant will be able to get rehydrated and look plump and healthy again. Another Cattleya that's got me really excited. This is Cattleya Jose Marti. It is a mix of Gascaliana, Maceae, and Trianae. It has a nice sheath. This would be a first bloom seedling if it does bloom. I'll be looking for blooms maybe later in the year, in October, November perhaps, or maybe not until next spring, but hopefully we won't have to wait that long. It's a pure white Cattleya with huge blooms. Really excited about that. The Catasetums. Hey, guess what? Finally started watering a couple of these guys. So these roots got long enough that I figured, alright, looks like they're touching the bottom there. Probably could have gone a couple more weeks, but I just got impatient and was like, alright, we've got plenty of roots. Let's start watering. So the sphagnum in there is packed pretty tightly, and I started watering it. So it's going to take a few waterings to really get soaked all the way through. Still some dry spots in there, but the watering season has started for my Catasetums. So I'm really glad to get that going, and hope those bulbs are going to start plumping up really quickly. Another Catasetum that I started watering, this one is in Synthic, which is a synthetic sphagnum moss from Europe, and the roots were in there growing along, and I said, okay, we're gonna go ahead and start watering. And I wish I had taken a picture of this bulb last week before I'd started watering. It was so shriveled, and just in a few days it has plumped back up almost completely. Look at that. Fantastic. The new growth is pushing up really quickly. I'm not happy that it's growing out at this steep angle, but what are you going to do? And something that's really cool about this Synthic, this is an experiment because I've never used Synthic before. I don't know what it's going to do, but one thing I like about it is even if you drench it and soak it, those air spaces between the pieces of Synthic remain. It doesn't seem to compact and stick together. So there's still plenty of air in there, but as you can see, it's still moist, so it's doing a great job of holding moisture, but also allowing air spaces, which is so important to the root, the health of your roots. And that's one advantage that I can see it having over sphagnum. Sphagnum will get compacted and start to suffocate your roots if you're not careful. So that's great to see, and hopefully this plant is just going to keep growing and look great later in the fall. It's going to be humongous, and I'm not sure where it's going to go, but something to think about for the future, but not worry about right now. Finally, this little Cygnodia's Wine Delight. This is one of the back bulbs of the divisions that I took this spring. It's just now getting going. You can see this little growth on there, and look at those roots. It is ready to go. It's got a 5th root pushing out the top there. It almost reminds me of a ghost orchid right now, one of those orchids that does not have any leaves, just roots. The bulb, you can see, not really wrinkled at all. There's plenty of juice still in that bulb, so I'm going to let those roots grow out as long as they can. If I can wait till they get to the bottom of the pot, I will. If the bulb looks super shrivelly at some point, then I'll start to water, but I'm going to hold off on that and let those roots get really well established before I think about watering them. And that is a strategy that has been working for me for years, and I'm going to stick with it. Let's check out the seedlings. So we've got some other seedlings over here. These are Kellya Gascaliana aurea, the yellow form, and there are several of those really starting to get some bigger leaves sticking out. That's really good to see. Those bigger leaves are showing me which plants look like they're actually going to start forming pseudobulbs and maybe even reach the blooming stage one day. Got some more Gascalianas here and some more here. I've also got a second variety of Gascaliana, which I think it might be the rarest plant in my collection, or at least it's the one I'm most excited about. Don't tell the Rexes, but I'm super excited about these. Actually, there's 4. There's 1, 2, and there's 2 in this pot here. There's 4. It's Cattleya Gascaliana rosita, and it is from Rogue Orchids. Rogue Orchids I don't think they even sell anymore, but Brent Baker's won dozens of AOS awards, and this is his rosita. If you Google Gascaliana rosita Rogue Orchids, you'll find a picture of him holding that plant that was selfed to produce these seedlings. And you can see this one is starting to root. It's got several roots coming out down there. Super excited about that. Hopefully at least one of these 4 plants will get established, start growing, and do good things, and maybe hopefully reach that blooming stage one day. These are some other Cattleya seedlings. They've got Mossii, I've got some Labiatus, and I've got some Triones as well in this mix. And these are still a few years from blooming, but they're quite a bit further along than the smaller seedlings. Now this one back here, this is a Kellya Hardiana, and actually I've had a little bit of a problem with Hardiana. I took it out. I noticed that some of the roots that had grown out the bottom of the pot had shriveled up and turned black in sections, but not the whole root, but just some sections. And so I kind of unpotted it, and it looked like some of the roots were really black and rotty looking and didn't look good at all. So I just did some did a root makeover, cut off the dead ones, and I can see that the plant is getting a little shrivelly, so I think it is having a bit of a shock from that. but hopefully this new growth that's coming out is going to be putting out new roots at the base very soon. And then that plant's going to be able to recover. But look at this root. It had several roots that were quite long. You can see how it goes all the way down to the bottom there. But a couple of them didn't look particularly healthy, so I was kind of wondering why an aerial root would not look so good, but still learning about these guys. Anything else to show you? I think that's going to be it for the day. Oh, one more. We got Kellya Gascaliana over here. It looks terrible. I kind of killed all the roots when I got the plant and I unpotted it. But to be fair, there were not a whole lot of roots to begin with. They weren't in great shape. But there are new roots growing. Don't know if you can see. I think you can kind of see in there. Yes, a couple new roots down there, and then on the other side. So I think once those get going, the remaining pseudobulbs that haven't dried up will fill back up, and there is a new growth coming as well. So hopefully this plant, although it's going to be significantly set back by this, it will live. It will live on, and it will continue to grow. And again, hopefully one day we'll see some blooms out of it. All right. Well, that is it for my green pets. I really, really appreciate you guys stopping by, just checking on everything. And we will see you next time. Have a great week. And just one last thing, I am going to take my plants to judging this coming Saturday. So our next update, I'll let you know how that went. All right. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you next time. Happy growing.